Ladies and gentlemen, it's always very difficult to hold the attention of the audience so soon after the Prime Minister has given a very holistic view about the working of this government over the last 5 years. He has addressed the change that we were able to bring about in the working of Indian government over the last 5 years. I think he brought about the perspective of how things used to be done earlier, what was the way this government brought about a change. And I think that in some sense can be best understood in terms of the change of the mindset of the nation. The biggest, sometimes I'm asked, what do you think is the single most important achievement of this government? And I dare say it's the change in mindset of 130 crore Indians. Many of us are used to the Jugadu approach. We can manage anything and everything. Sab kuch chalta hai. There are times when I just became the Railway Minister about 18 months ago. On one occasion when I was trying to drive in a lot of rapid change, and in that process was also a little critical of some of the things that were happening. One of the officers turned around and told me, "Sir, you'll have to appreciate, irrespective of who the minister is or whether any of us does our work or don't do our work, 12,000 trains leave every morning and they reach their destination." Now that can be a great complacency, that can be a great attitude for some, but not for Prime Minister Modi and his team. And I think over the last 5 years, that change in mindset has been probably the most challenging part of government. And I may dare say 5 years into government, the most satisfying part of our achievements. Today we have a nation of 1 billion plus people aspiring for a better quality of life and expecting those game-changing, those transformational outcomes. And you only expect something from a person you believe who can deliver. I mean, I would expect a good editorial because I know Modi can write a good editorial. And therefore the morning preferred paper is going to be an Economic Times to know what's happening in the business world. And of course now with the successful political pages, you can probably read the Economic Times and know exactly what's happening all across the world today. But I do that, I read that because I know he can deliver. If I didn't trust his ability, the ability of the Economic Times team to give me good news, good in the sense, give me complete news, smartly, that would not be my preferred paper. The same way, if there's high aspiration, there's high demands on Prime Minister Modi and his government, I think it's a matter of great satisfaction for all of us because the people of India trust we can deliver. And if you see the way this government has taken up different projects over the last 5 years, there's a method to the projects that have been taken up. I remember a lot of criticism coming our way when we took up the Swachh Bharat mission, the Clean India mission, right in the first few months of this government. And a lot of critics who said that Prime Minister is not expected to address cleanliness from the ramparts of the Red Fort when he's giving his Independence Day address. But as I look back 4.5 years later, I realized that behind this program, there was a huge outcome that he could foresee. An outcome on healthcare, for example, an outcome of the thinking of our people, an outcome possibly also impacting corruption levels. You are in a clean environment, you think differently. An outcome which will have deep impact on tourism potential of India, for example, and then correspondingly on the economy. So an investment in a cleaner India is economically a sound investment, was very much at the back of his mind. And then you look at the various projects that came one after the other. Be it Saubhagya, our effort to ensure that every single willing consumer in this country, every household who wants an electricity connection, business of course included, should get electricity at the drop of a hat. And after all, on the ease of doing business rankings, I think electricity was one of the first large movements where India just leapfrogged in the world rankings. Cooking gas. The impact that cooking on wooden stoves or kerosene was having on our women's lives, particularly in rural India, could only have been appreciated by someone who has lived that life. Most of us in this room, including me, possibly have not lived a life where there was no electricity, or our mothers or sisters were cooking on a stove under wood or with kerosene. Many of us here would not probably appreciate that when he launches Ayushman Bharat, giving 500 million people, 50 crore of the lesser privileged sections of society, free healthcare, what a deep impact it's going to have in our productivity, the outcomes it will have on the cost that the nation pays for bad health, the outcome it will have on the social side in terms